Hello, welcome to my channel, Learn English in an Easy Way. To improve your English skills, reading, listening, understanding and speaking, in accordance with your level, I combine short stories in one video. Improve your English with audio stories. B1, B2. You will also have more videos on other levels and subjects later. Let's start. Color therapy. Color therapy is the use of color in a variety of ways to promote health and healing. Used to treat both physical and emotional problems. Color therapy may involve exposure to colored lights, massage, using color-saturated oils, visualizing colors, even wearing colored clothing and eating colored foods. Color has played a role in healing for centuries. In ancient Egypt, patients were treated in rooms specifically designed to break up the sun's rays into separate colors. In Iraq, people also made regular pilgrimages to the Hanging Gardens of Babylon to take advantage of healing colors of the exotic plants and flowers found there. In India, practitioners of Ayurveda taught that specific colors corresponded with the seven chakras, each of which is an energy center that represents organs, emotions, or aspects of the spirit. However, modern-day color theory was born in the late 17th century, when Sir Isaac Newton did his prism experiments and showed that light is a mixture of colors from the visible spectrum. Although doctors used color to treat everything from psychological problems to smallpox over the next 100 years, interest in colors' effects on healing didn't really become widespread until 1878, when Dr. Edwin Babbitt published his book Principles of Light and Color. In his book, he explained his work in chromatotherapy, that is healing with colored lights, and suggested it as a treatment for a variety of ailments, including burns, nervous excitability, and cold in the extremities. Probably the most extensive and detailed work on colored light therapy, however, was done by Dr. Dinsha P. Gaudiali, who has studied Babbitt's work. In 1920, he introduced a system of colored lights which he named spectrochrome lamps. These were used as a treatment for such diseases as diabetes, tuberculosis, and chronic gonorrhea, although they were considered logical and effective by the doctors who succeeded with them. Many others regarded them as ridiculous. Still, this work continues to inspire many color therapists today. In 1947, Swiss psychologist Dr. Max Luschar introduced the Luschar color test, a form of color therapy still widely used by many psychologists. The test involves choosing 43 colors from a total of 73 possibilities. By observing the colors a person chooses or rejects, and the therapist can learn about this psychological state. For example, if a person selects darker colors, it suggests a need for test and stress reduction. At about the same, Russian researcher C.V. Krakow was conducting a series of experiments to show how color can affect the nervous system. He observed that red light stimulated the adrenal glands, therefore it raised blood pressure and pulse rate. On the other hand, blue and white light had a calming effect. Although there are still no studies supporting Krakow's work, today many practitioners recommend color therapy for stress. In recent years, interest in color therapy has grown as studies have shown the positive effects on different forms of depression. Mainstream researchers are looking into its use for a variety of other illnesses as well, from sleep disorders to hormonal problems. In addition, over the past decade, Orasoma, an Eastern influence therapy that uses colored bottles of essential oils, has gained popularity. Moreover, exogetic color puncture therapy, which focuses colored light on acupuncture points, is being studied as a treatment for a variety of health problems including migraines, bronchitis, and uterine fibroids. Cities in the sea. As the Earth's human population grows rapidly, satisfying basic human needs becomes more difficult. Living space and shelter are among our primary requirements. Some parts of the world are simply running out of the room for their increasing populations, and people are beginning to look to the sea for additional space. Other basic requirements of human life are food and natural resources. It is no longer enough to farm and mine the lands of the earth for foodstuffs and minerals. Consequently, we have begun to obtain some of the vast mineral and agricultural wealth of the oceans. In recent years, mining and drilling in the sea have added to our stores of oil and gas. In addition, deep sea exploration and mining will soon give access to the rare mineral on the ocean floor. There are, therefore, two reasons why it may become necessary to learn to live in the sea. First, we might need some of its immense area for living space. Second, we might need to make use of the resources that lie in its depths. There are already a number of proposals and experiments that may help to achieve these goals. In the early 1970s, the Japanese began the construction of Aquapolis on the main Japanese island of Honshu. It's a prototype of futuristic floating cities designed to run on wind and tidal energy. It uses a biological wastewater system, which disposes of sewage by means of a species of green algae known as chlorella rather than by chemical means. The time may come when floating cities such as Aquapolis exist not only as permanent extensions of land-based habitats but also as free-floating platforms. These would drift from continent to continent across the deep oceans. Such cities would permit deep-sea miners and their families to live near their workplaces on the ocean floor. But at the same time, miners working on the ocean bottom would face a set of problems. One such problem would be the enormous pressure exerted by the ocean at great depths. Another would be the lack of easy access to air. To study these difficulties and to test human adaptability to life beneath the sea, scientists have been carrying out several experiments within the last century. The first of these was the Conshelf First Habitat in 1962. A team directed by Jacques Hughes Cousteau remained at the depth of 10 meters in the Mediterranean Sea for 7 days. The results of this experiment led to the building of the Conshelf Second Habitat, where 5 oceanauts lived successfully at 11 meters. Data from these experiments made possible the construction of Conshelf Third in 1964, when 2 men lived at a depth of 132 meters for 48 hours. In the same year, the United States Navy tested Sealab First, in which 4 men lived at a depth of nearly 60 meters for 9 days. They found the environment comfortable at a temperature of 29 degrees Celsius and relative humidity of 72%. From these experiments, scientists learned that daily swimming at these depths caused oceans to show symptoms of stress. In spite of minor drawbacks, those experiments have proved the possibility of living in the sea. Their success has encouraged the architect Warren Chalk to design an entire underwater city which would make maximum use of space and would enable entire human populations to live safely and comfortably far beneath the sea for long periods. Obviously, deep sea living has its physical dangers and psychological drawbacks, like being in isolation. Nevertheless, due to the necessity of meeting our primary requirements, we may build underwater cities which may even be connected by advanced systems of communication and transportation. Perhaps our children will live in what futurist Alvin Toffler calls the New Atlantis. IQ or EQ. If you are lucky, your looks, the right contacts, and a presentable set of qualifications might get you on the first step of the career ladder. However, it is some other qualities that will lift you to the top. While your IQ intelligence quotient might get you hired, it's your EQ emotional quotient that will get you promoted, says Daniel Goleman in his book Emotional Intelligence, which became a bestseller in just 2 weeks after being published in 1999. Like IQ, EQ claims to measure intelligence, but EQ cannot be calculated in numbers. It's a complex mixture of the qualities that make us who we are. Where IQ claims to measure pure brain power, EQ embraces all important factors such as sociability, optimism, and empathy, qualities that gained significance in the 1990s working environment. Cooperation, communication, and the ability to listen to the others and to speak one's mind are all important aspects of social interaction in modern business, and the most productive workers tend to be those who are good at motivating themselves and working with a team, not necessarily the ones who are not the most intelligent on paper. People with high IQs may be able to solve the most complicated mathematical formula or scribble symphonies on the back of a cornflakes packet, but they usually tend to be at a bit of a loss when it comes to understanding how to behave in company, not to mention being rather boring to have at parties. According to Geraldine Bowen, Chief Executive of the Domini Group, a human resource management consultancy, one of the most exciting findings to come out of the EQ discovery is the fact that high EQ qualities are those traditionally associated with a feminine or soft approach to management. Now that training gurus are talking about how people need to get in touch with their intuitive selves, they are sending senior male managers on courses to learn how to understand their own feelings, she says, and all the time they have organizations full of women already well in touch with theirs. It is just these qualities that will be advantageous in the future. Beverly Alimo, senior lecturer in organizational psychology at the Nuffield Institute for Health, has researched leadership qualities in men and women. Her work shows that women are more likely than men to share power and try to enhance other people's self-confidence. What is more, these EQ-driven style of leadership is so much better suited modern organizations. We know women are more likely to exhibit a real understanding of human behavior, she says. They think through the consequences that the effect on others before they act. According to Dr. Alexis Hallam, occupational consultancy psychologist at Career Analysts, the main aspect of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. Thinking about how you feel improves your ability to work well. Really understanding how you feel and analyzing emotions about your work could also help you make better decisions about your career. Most people go for extra qualifications to break through career barriers, she says. What they don't understand is that in order to move up through organizations, more than extra qualifications and pure brain power is needed. Therefore, next time you feel inadequate because you know you'll never be a rocket scientist, remind yourself that you may in fact be cleverer than you think. BGM, more than it seems. Elevator or background music, BGM, which is often referred to as muzak, dominates our world. It is easier to think of places that lack BGM than to list all those where it is found. Most establishments where we purchase goods, services, food or drink have BGM. Many workplaces like factories or offices have it too. BGM is currently being marketed for the home in digital stereo as well. BGM is not a modern invention. It has been in demand since people started recording it. Moreover, contrary to common belief, it is not composed only by second-rate composers, but also by four world-famous composers. Handel, Mozart, Beethoven, and other masters produced music that was intended for background listening, often for dinner parties of the aristocracy. One major difference between former times and recent times is that today BGM is more affordable and available. The widespread and increasing presence of commercial BGM shows that BGM is very effective in changing human behavior. For example, one study of the effectiveness of music in supermarkets showed that the use of slow music increased sales. Shoppers stayed in the store longer and purchased more. The average gain of each supermarket was between $12,000 and $16,000, an increase of nearly 40%. Why might the use of music be so effective throughout society? One very strong possibility is the powerful influence of music on the communication and creation of emotions and moods. Moreover, music may provide a form of non-verbal communication whose message cannot be expressed in words. Thus, music can rapidly and powerfully set moods in a way that cannot be achieved by other means. Moreover, sound can spread through a place and reach all potential audiences simultaneously. This is something achieved by visual images only in special circumstances, as in a cinema. However, here too, BGM has an important role. If you think for a moment, you will probably realize that without music, the impact of a movie would be dramatically reduced. Moreover, researchers have shown that filmed events can be remembered significantly better when they are accompanied by music, particularly music that fits the mood of the visual image. BGM is also effective in altering and directing people's opinions. For example, market researchers who advise advertising agencies and their clients make a clear distinction between purchasing situations. Some require the use of high cognitive processes, while others require low cognitive processes but with high emotional involvement. What do jewelry, sportswear, cosmetics, and beer have in common? They are rated as fitting the latter category, i.e., not much thought but plenty of feelings. Music has shown to be quite effective in increasing the purchase of these products. On the other hand, music seems to be much less effective than one is trying to sell a PC, a camera, or insurance, which are high cognitive items. The fact that BGM has strong benefit effects on behavior by communicating moods and emotions is supported by studies like those proving the impact of music on the purchase of consumer goods. Thus, we should maintain an awareness of the powerful effects of music on human emotions. Ancient artifacts and ancient air. Archaeologists made an exciting discovery in Egypt in 1954. During an excavation near the base of the Great Pyramid, they uncovered an ancient crypt or an underground room. They believed that this discovery would help us understand Egypt's past. They also hoped that it would give us important information about the future. This crypt was a tomb, i.e., a burial place for a dead Egyptian king. Historians believe that the Egyptians buried their kings with two boats, one to carry the body and the other to carry the soul. This was one of their religious customs about death. Therefore, the archaeologists expected to find two boats inside the crypt. As they opened the crypt, they smelled the scent of wood. The ancient Egyptians had closed the room so effectively that the aroma of the cedar wood was still there. Inside the crypt, archaeologists found a 4,600-year-old boat that was in almost perfect condition. In addition, they found another crypt next to the first one. Archaeologists and historians believe that this crypt contained the second boat. If so, they would have better information about the past. They would be sure about the religious custom of burying kings with two boats. However, this was not the only information they hoped to find. They wondered if the air in the two rooms contained something special that helped to preserve the wood from changing. Researchers hoped to find some clues about the future by carefully examining the air in the second crypt. They thought that this information could help them in preservation of ancient artifacts, objects, in museums throughout the world. When the archaeologists opened the first crypt, all the old air escaped. They wanted to recover the air in the second crypt to compare it with the present air and then examine the differences, especially differences in the level of carbon dioxide. Careful planning would be necessary in order to open the second crypt and save their air. In fact, it took years to plan excavation and to design and make the equipment necessary to open the second crypt and collect the air inside it. Finally, in October 1986, an international team of scientists and archaeologists using special equipment opened a hole in the roof of the crypt. They sealed the hole they had made. That is, they carefully closed it so as to prevent the air inside the second crypt from escaping. Then, they took an air sample. The air inside was the same as the one outside. The scientists were very disappointed, but they continued working to see what was inside the crypt. Attached at the end of a long rope, a light and a camera were lowered through the small hole, and the archaeologists looked at the inside of the room on a television monitor. The second boat was really there. After the scientists and archaeologists took samples of the air inside and photographed it completely, they closed up the hole in the roof and left the crypt as they had found it. Although they were disappointed about their findings of the air inside the crypt, they were able to prove the Egyptian custom of burying kings with two boats. More importantly, they practiced a new, non-destructive approach to archaeology: investigate an ancient location, photograph it, and leave it untouched. After examining the photographs they had taken, scientists and archaeologists realized that the second boat was not as well preserved as the first one. They thought that this might be due to the construction of the museum after the first excavation, after archaeologists had opened the first crypt years ago and removed the boat. The Egyptian government had built a museum on the site of the first boat. During the construction of the museum, the vibrations from the heavy machinery and probably damaged the second crypt and destroyed the seal, so the second boat was not in perfect condition. The investigation of the second chamber taught archaeologists a valuable lesson. New excavations will not only use modern technology but also follow the idea of preserving the entire location for future studies. They thought that this might be due to the construction of the museum after the first excavation. After archaeologists had opened the first crypt years ago, removed the boat, the Egyptian government had built a museum on the side of the first boat. If you enjoyed the video, please hit a like and subscribe to my channel. Have a nice day.